Welcome back to TYT. I'm Anna Kasparian, and joining me is Cenk Uygur from New York, where he has been filling in for Ed Schultz, kicking ass on MSNBC. Cenk, you did some really great political stories on MSNBC today, so why don't you share a couple of those today on TYT?
Right, I got some stories for you guys that we covered on the Ed show, and I got some that we didn't cover. I make a lot of big ones, I make a lot of little ones. And by the way, my stint on the Ed show is over for now, as was scheduled, so you can now stop watching. No, I'm playing. Keep watching Ed. It's a good show. Of course, he comes back on Monday, okay? And I come back to LA on Monday, and I'll be in the studio. So, my favorite story of the day is the story of these right-wing clowns who have invented yet another conspiracy theory about Obama. This conspiracy is that Obama is secretly a Native American. So he's not Muslim anymore, now he's an Indian, okay? And that he plans to give away the United States of America to Native Americans.
Oh my God. Oh, where did they come up with this conspiracy?
Anna, you literally can't believe it, right? I mean, how unbelievably stupid can you be?
No, I really don't believe it. So tell me why they came up with this conspiracy theory. What is the background of this?
All right, well, here's the deal, right? They put two things together. First of all, President Obama had us sign the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and it was adopted in 2007 by the United Nations. Bush refused to sign it because he's like, indigenous people? I don't even know what that is, right? And then Obama came in and then looked at it. It's non-binding. It doesn't have any real legal effect, and it just says, indigenous people rock. Right? So he's like, yeah, sure, I'll sign that. Great, right? Mm-hmm. And then apparently 2 years ago, he was declared he was given honorary status with the Crow tribe Indians. Okay? So the conservatives were like, aha! He signed this treaty that actually is going to make our land all go back to the Native Americans when we rightly stole it with power and might and disease. Anyway, and then they figured out why Obama's involved. So now look, so far, if you're listening to this, I wouldn't even believe it. I say come on, right? Nobody can be that crazy. But I'm going to give you quotes. So we start with Brian Fisher. I love this title, Director of Issues Analysis. And he's done analysis of this issue. He's with the Christian Conservative American Family Association. He says, President Obama wants to give the entire landmass of the United States of America back to the Indians. He wants Indian tribes to be our new overlords.
Oh my God.
Perhaps he figures that as an adopted Crow Indian, he will be the new chief over this revived Indian empire.
You stay classy, San Diego.
What the hell is that? Dude, we have our jobs being shipped away to other countries, and they're worried about Obama giving the United States to Native Americans. What are you guys talking about?
By the way, look, there's so many funny things about this. One, Obama's already the leader of the country. So why would he need a crazy Indian conspiracy to become leader of the country?
Right.
Right? And then second of all, can you imagine if in these guys' fantasy, like Obama actually did it and he's like, by the way, today it's not a big deal, a press conference, I'm just announcing that we're giving Montana and New Mexico back. And how would that work? Do you think that people are like, oh, well, he's the president, what can I do? Secret Indian conspiracy, I guess Montana, New Jersey, and Rhode Island are now Indian territory.
Unbelievable.
All right, one more quote. WorldNet Daily, which is one of the bigger conservative websites, picked up on this. They loved it. And they ran with this. They said, Obama to give Manhattan back to Native Americans. President believes nation can spare some sovereignty. The quote continues in the article, President Obama is voicing support for a UN resolution that could accomplish something as radical as relinquishing some U.S. sovereignty and opening a path for the return of ancient tribal lands to American Indians, including even parts of Manhattan.
No, you know what? I'm almost embarrassed that we're talking about them. These people are nut jobs. Like, why? They're coming up with these crazy conspiracy theories that make absolutely no sense, and we're giving them attention. So I'm a little embarrassed that we're even mentioning them.
No, Anna, I hear you. That's a great point. The problem is they also had this crazy theory that Obama wasn't burning the country, and then this huge percentage of Republicans began to believe it, and then non-Republicans, some non-Republicans started to believe it. Then they had this crazy theory that Acorn stole the 2008 election for Obama. A majority of Republicans believe that. If you don't counter it, these clowns will believe anything.
Well, I think Republicans are going to believe what they want to believe regardless of what we say. I mean, I don't think the Republicans are going to watch the Young Turks show or MSNBC and say, hey, that Cenk Uygur guy, he says that Obama is not a Native American or is not a Muslim. We should believe him. They're going to believe what they want to believe. If they want to come off as nut jobs, I say let them come off as nut jobs.
Right, I hear you. But there's some chance they watch one of these clips and then they go, yeah, you know what? Maybe I'm a fucking idiot.
What are the chances of that?
What do you think? I mean, come on. Do they really watch this and they go, oh, no, yeah, you, of course you don't know about the secret Indian conspiracy. And I bet you're part of the cover-up and that Soros paid for it.
Think about how sad your life is when you are this consumed with crazy conspiracy theories. Like you're hiding under your bed and you're worried about Obama selling your land to Native Americans. How pathetic is your life? I think it's pathetic. I think it's sad.
No, I think it rocks. I think they're superstars. They have awesome lives. All right, I'm with you. So let's move on. Now, another crazy story. Haley Barbour has fascinatingly decided to give an indefinite suspension of sentence to 2 African-American women in prison in Mississippi. Now, remember, he just got in trouble for supporting the Citizens Council, which was like a milder version, if there could be a milder version, of the Ku Klux Klan, and they had run on a campaign of white supremacy, and he said, oh, come on, they weren't that bad. They ran our town in the civil rights era, and everything was fine, and the civil rights era wasn't that bad, which are all, of course, incredibly outrageous comments. And then look at this wonderful coincidence. He happens to release these 2 African-American women, and then the president of the NAACP, Ben Jealous, says that Haley Barbour, quote, a shining example of the way a governor should use the power of clemency.
Oh, my God. So his plan completely worked.
Yeah, I think what happens is, like, he does the at the very least, in our terms, racialist talk to get his right-wing base, and because he's planning on running for president, and say, hey, aren't I such a wonderful racist? You're on my side. And then he goes out to the NAACP or others and goes, look, you tell everybody that I'm a shining example of awesomeness, and I will release these women from prison. So in a sense, if that's true, if that's how it went down behind the scenes, and we don't know if there was really a quid pro quo, but if that's what happened behind the scenes, he's basically holding these women hostage. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
By the way, what did they do? Jamie and Gladys Scott were sisters when they were teenagers. They ambushed 2 men in central Mississippi and stole $11 from them.
Oh, wow.
You know what they got?
A life sentence?
Life sentences.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
Now, look, there's more, complicating circumstances. It was a bad robbery. They had a shotgun on them, and they hit each man in the head with the shotgun. They didn't fire, but they hit it, and they took their wallets. Their wallets only happened to have $11. I think it's a very serious crime, okay? So I'm not downplaying that. Life sentences, they were teenagers. It seems a bit much, right? By the way, Haley Barbour put one more condition on release. One of the sisters, Gladys Scott, must give her kidney to Jamie Scott.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Jamie needs a kidney to be able to live. She's on dialysis. By the way, that leads to the second reason Haley Barbour let go. Treating Jamie was costing the state of Mississippi $200,000 a year. So now if they let her go, she's on her own. Mm-hmm. So it's mercy with a twist. She's like, you have to give up the kidney, which, by the way, the sister's perfectly happy to do, and then you have to pay your own bills. Good luck. Get out of here.
Right, which is going to be extremely difficult, especially considering the economy and considering the fact that they've been in jail for however long. it's almost impossible.
No. And I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sure the insurance companies can't wait to give them insurance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Let me just ask a
Yeah,
question.
I'm sure they'll be like, oh, you already have this enormous problem with your kidney? No, we won't count that as a pre-existing condition. That doesn't seem fair.
Cenk, let me ask you a question, man.
Yep.
How many people died in that robbery for $11?
0.
I just feel like that's just a point that I think both was, I think you mentioned for a second, was kind of passed over by Ben Jealous, and he's a shining example. How about the injustice of the sentence in the first place, which of course they said it was a civil rights case. People were outraged about it at the time, but it kind of gets swept under the rug. 16 years in prison and they didn't hit the guy. Like I said, I'm not gonna pardon them for being a part of the crime. They led these guys into the crime where other accomplices did the actual action of hitting them in the head with the butts of the guns and all that stuff and stealing their wallets. I just don't think that. I mean, to even go to Haley Barbour's part in releasing him with the kidney part, all these other twists of story seem like just cobwebs to cover up the fact that it was ridiculous in the first place, and it should have been talked about since 1994. But who cares? A couple black women.
Look, Jer, I hear you, and those are all great points. And by the way, I should also clarify, and I'm glad you clarified it, that they didn't hit him. They actually are 36 and 38 now. They've been sitting in prison, as you said, for 16 years. So they weren't teenagers. They were just young when they did it. Okay, they were about 20 and 22 years old. And JR, that's why people had taken up this case for a long time. And so what happens now is Haley Barbour's like, oh, great, I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Before I wasn't releasing them, but now I get to get rid of some money out of the prison system because we don't have to treat her anymore. And plus, I get to have the NAACP president call me a shining example when I just got in massive racial trouble. So for Barbour, it's a smart political move, but as you point out, incredibly craven political maneuvering.
All right.
All right.
So do you have any other stories?
Yeah, let me do one last story here, and then we'll wrap it up for my section here. Speaking of Haley Barbour, he's also in the news because of the war between Sarah Palin and Michelle Obama. Sarah Palin on her show talked about eating s'mores, and she said the treat was, quote, in honor of Michelle Obama, who said the other day we should not have dessert. Now, of course, Michelle Obama's doing an anti-obesity campaign. She never said you can't have dessert. Oh, obviously Sarah Palin just made that up. But Sarah Palin then took another shot at her and saying that it's part of a nanny state where they're watching everything we eat, etc. But the interesting twist here is people like Haley Barbour, Mike Huckabee have stepped in to defend Michelle Obama and saying, hey, listen, Huckabee had lost a tremendous amount of weight. And he used to be much larger, and he went on an anti-obesity campaign in Arkansas as well when he was governor. And he's saying, look, this isn't compulsory. We have serious problems with obesity throughout the country, and she's trying to make it better. Nobody's forcing you to do anything. That sounds so reasonable that I'm shocked the Republican said it, but only because he's already done that in his own state, almost the same exact thing. Barbour said, look, I'm also a fat ass. I understand how hard it is. I appreciate the campaign. I'm paraphrasing.
Right. No. Look, I'm not surprised at all that they're sticking up for Michelle Obama. If they were to stick up for Sarah Palin, they would look like absolute clowns, and I think they're aware of that. Sarah Palin, at this point, I think, is a punching bag by both Democrats and Republicans. I don't think that there's a single Republican, other than individuals that are in the Tea Party, that take Sarah Palin seriously. She's pretty much a joke.
Well, I hear you on that, Anna, and I had read a story in Politico about how some of the big bankers who are funding the Republican Party don't like Sarah Palin because they're worried that they can't really predict what she's going to do. She's so crazy that they're not entirely sure that when they buy her, she stays bought, which I found to be fascinating, right? But there are some people who back her. That's why she's still relevant. Not just the fan base that she has, but look at the people on her side on this issue. You say you'd have to be crazy to be on her side. So, obviously on her side are Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, and Michelle Malkin. And they're all saying the same thing. Malkin put Michelle Obama on the list of her big nannies of the year, and Limbaugh and Beck have talked about how this is another attempt by the government to take over.
Do they seriously, are they that oblivious to the numbers of people who are obese in the United States? Like, it's like Michelle Obama right now is trying to do something about the obesity epidemic, something that's killing thousands of Americans every year, and they're just completely ignoring that as if it's not a big deal and saying that Michelle is trying to take over everything, trying to be a nanny state. It just pisses me off. And Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, Michelle Malkin, they're all clowns. These are all people that I don't even care about. I'm completely dismissing anything that they have to say. So if people like that are supporting Sarah Palin, then that proves my point. She's a nut job. Even Republicans don't want to associate with her. That's it. And
Beck, Limbaugh, and Michelle Malkin, you're done. All right, and I'm done with my short stories of the day. Let's take a quick break. Let's come back with Anna's fun stories, and then we still have the videos of the year. All right?
All right, we'll take a break. Welcome back to TYT. I'm Anna Kasparian with Cenk Uygur. All right, let's get to some fun stories. All
right, Anna, before we do that, can I just come in for a second and say, I love that song so much that JR keeps playing that I mogged it up. I went on Mog, I found it, because I have a Mog account now, that's one of our sponsors.
Uh-huh.
And now I listen to it whenever I want.
It's a really good
Mog.
song. Do you break out in dance moves when you listen to it?
Dance moves is a bit much, but when I've got my iPod on or whatever it is, in this case, the Mog is on my iPhone, and I put in the earpieces, there's a lot of head bobbing. There's a lot of head bobbing.
It is a good song. I love that song. And you know what I'm completely amused by? All of you techno and trance and house haters over there are completely ignoring the fact that that type of music is infiltrating in the mainstream music. Well, what now? Oh, I don't like techno music. I don't like techno music. Oh, but all of a sudden everybody likes this one song, which is completely techno-y. This is totally something you would hear at a rave.
Anna, I have 2 words for you. What now?
Yeah, what now? I love rubbing it in. All right.
Okay, all right, come.
All right, so a small town in Indiana known as Lafayette is outraged because of a particular type of snow sculpture that is being created in one of their neighbors' homes. So we have a local news report on this. I love the local news report. I want you guys to pay attention to the type of people who are outraged by the snow sculptures, and then we'll do a little commentary on it.
Television explaining how Fred Hampton had come out of his bedroom fire pistols. Now all the Panthers inside had repeatedly broken ceasefire.
Okay, that's not the video, but we'll get it for you guys in just a second. All right, while Dave gets that for us, so this town is extremely small. They only have a couple thousand people living there, and apparently, you saw the video, Jake. Why don't you give a little description of it?
All right, let me just say one quick thing here. As you're going to watch the video, you're going to see them not edit out, but like blur out the penis sculptures. And I kept thinking, come on, let us see it. Right? But I love the great harm behind the sculptures. So,
all right, we have the video ready. Let's do it.
Fall that we've seen this month, a lot of people have been enjoying the outdoors, but you might want to reconsider what you build out of the snow. It may be a violation of the law. News Channel 18's Aaron Leedy has more now on a controversial sculpture that had some neighbors upset. Aaron?
Good evening, Jeff. Neighbors along North 7th Street in Lafayette say 2 sculptures of male genitals were disgusting. The sculptures have been torn down, but the controversial issue still serves as a reminder that obscene sculptures do violate state law.
Other kids are living on this block, and it's just really rude for other kids to have to see what they have been doing.
Briar Gill says what he and other kids in the neighborhood along North 7th Street in Lafayette saw Wednesday morning was upsetting. 2 snow sculptures in the shape of male genitals were on display at their neighbor's house.
I would say, can you please stop doing this stuff, because there's other kids around.
The sculpture's creators declined to comment, but still had plenty to show us.
I think it's disgusting. I have a 2-year-old, so, and he doesn't even, right now he doesn't even know what that is, and it's not even, people shouldn't do that. Like, it's very irresponsible.
Gina Robinson says her neighbors began building the sculptures Tuesday night, but she didn't notice what they actually were until Wednesday morning. She's more upset with how Lafayette police responded.
They showed up, laughed, and drove off.
Lafayette Police Sergeant Perry Amos says the call was not handled properly by the responding officer.
His concern was he didn't know there was something legally he could do. So we talked about it, and I did some research, and now he understands that there's more things he could do. He felt more empowered to do some more.
Sergeant Amos says that the snow sculpture is in violation of a state statute and that the homeowner could have faced charges.
If you were to have that and they would not remove it, they possibly could be arrested for the A misdemeanor.
Now, Amos says the sculptures fell under the state statute category of obscene matter. Now, under that code is a listing for statues or other figures. The homeowners face no charges since the sculptures were torn down, but Amos says such a display is still unacceptable in the community. Aaron Leedy, News Channel 8.
All right. Okay, there's so many parts of that video that I love.
I love this story. I'm sorry, sir, but you could be in legal trouble for that giant penis sculpture you have on your lawn. I mean, they blocked it out, but those things seemed enormous, didn't they?
Yeah, they looked really big.
See, what kind of penis sculpture did they build?
They looked really big. The funny thing about that is, I really wanted to see what the sculptures look like, so I was thinking there has to be some place on the internet where someone took a picture and uploaded it. So I was searching for penis snow sculpture. Bad idea. I came across other things I didn't want to see. but they do look big in that video. And I love how the people who created that snow sculpture, when the media wanted to talk to them, I love how they just like randomly flipped the media off. The people who made the sculpture didn't talk to the media, but they still had a lot to say. I love local news reports.
Hey, Anna, if you do that search, believe me, somebody's got a sculpture with your name on it. So
no.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea for a search.
I know.
So anyway, look, the other thing is the locals have to calm down. Your 2-year-old has no idea what it is until you panic over it. You're like, oh my God, Johnny, don't look at the giant penis. Oh my God, you're scarred. And the kid's like, what? What is it? I don't even know what it is. What?
Yeah, no, I know. My favorite part of that video was when the young boy was like talking in the beginning of it, and he seemed so distraught, and he's like, it's really disrespectful to the kids, and you know, I really didn't like it, and made me feel uncomfortable. And you know that his parent like pulled him over to the side and said, yeah, tell the media that. The kid didn't notice that until the parents pointed it out. So
No.
I agree.
Let me tell you something. Here's the people who recognize those sculptures in the first place. All the kids in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And here was their reaction. Okay, they weren't like, oh, this is deeply offensive, and I find it offensive for myself and others in the neighborhood, in the teenage community. Okay, no, of course their parents put them up to that. He didn't care. He thought it was probably hilarious.
So when the kids first saw it, their first reaction was, soundboard usage.
Nicely done,
I'm
Casper.
so proud of myself. No. And another thing that I love was Gina Robinson, the woman who looked like she was 15 years old and had 2 kids. And then she's talking about how much penis made her uncomfortable. Calm down. You've seen a penis before.
She might have wanted to figure that out a little earlier.
Anyway, all right, let's go to the next story. 2 high school softball coaches are facing accusations that they were harassing a lesbian student. It's alleged that they went to the lesbian student's mom and revealed the girl's sexuality, and they also kicked her off the softball team. So we have another video about this story. I want you guys to check it out, and we'll share a little commentary on it.
A Kilgore High School softball player says she was outed by her coaches to her own mother. Now her mother is suing those coaches and the school district. The Texas Civil Rights Project filed civil suit in federal court on the family's behalf on Monday. Tonight, both mother and daughter tell KLTV7's Laren Livingston why they're now seeking damages.
The head softball coach, an assistant coach, the assistant athletic director, and the school district are all named in the lawsuit, claiming they all violated now 17-year-old Sky Wyatt's constitutional rights to privacy.
It's not something I wanted her to know, ever. Ever.
We spoke with Sky with her mother's permission.
It was especially hard for me to deal with, especially in the manner that I had to.
We're told Sky came here to the softball field back in March of 2009 to meet with her other teammates. The coaches came and then dismissed the rest of the team. The lawsuit goes on to say the coaches led her to the empty locker room nearby, locked the door behind them, and then started harassing her, threatening her, questioning her about an alleged sexual relationship with her and another female student.
If things had gotten out of hand, there was no one there for her.
Sky's mother Barbara says at the time she was unaware her daughter was seeing another girl. But Barbara says she was more upset at the way the situation was handled.
We're going to make this right. You have ruined her world, and I'm not going to tolerate it.
According to the lawsuit, Barbara filed 3 different complaints with the district. It claims the coaches continue to out Sky to other students and employees. So Barbara filed a lawsuit.
We think it's an important issue, and it's an upsetting situation. But this is an area where we think the law is clear.
Kids commit suicide over it. And if we don't want to continue to lose our children to these types of issues, then we got to do some changing.
To keep what happened to them from happening to any other student. Lara Livingston, KLTV 7 News.
All right, so I feel like we do stories like this all the time. You have school administrators or teachers who are either discriminating against gay students or they're harassing gay students. You know, you want to talk about nanny state. Look at these high schools where you have administrators all up in the students' business. Stay out of their business. It's none of your goddamn business what this girl's sexuality is. You're a goddamn softball coach. So I hate hearing stuff like this. It really irritates me.
You know, Anna, my theory on all this is that the coaches are pervy wankers. They pulled her in so that they could hear the story of her making out with the other girl, and they probably loved it. And then they're gossipy, and they couldn't wait to tell the other teachers, and they couldn't wait to tell everybody, like, ha, we know that somebody's a lesbian, and we got this story about her making out with it. And all this fall outrage, like, the fake outrage drives me crazy, right? Now, in outing her in 18 different ways is wrong. I hear them. The only slight issue I have is that the mom is also mad that they outed her to her parents, right? But apparently she's fine with it, so that part, you know, is not as convincing.
No, I completely sympathize with the mother. She's upset at the way the 2 coaches put her into the locker room and they started questioning her, interrogating her about her sexuality. I would be irate if someone did that to my child. That's unacceptable. And the mom is also upset that they're going around gossiping about it with other teachers and, you know, other students. I would be upset about that as well. And, you know,
don't get me wrong. All that stuff I totally agree with. And by the way, if I were the parents, I would just flip it on the teachers. The minute we got into a parent-teacher conference, whatever it was, a meeting over this issue, I'd start grilling them about their sex life. And I'd say, all right, listen, who did you sleep with? Man, girl, boy, who have you been sleeping with? No, you have to tell me right now. No, it's very important. No. If you're going to do it to my daughter, I'm going to do it to you. Who's the last guy or girl you slept with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's a good way to handle it, and I'd love to see their reaction to it. But I'm
you know what they would be? I'll guarantee you what their reaction would be. They would be outraged.
Of course they would be outraged. And you know, what's interesting about this story, we don't know if this is 100% true. This is what the girl's mother is alleging. She says that the first thing they did is they went to police, and when police went to the school to investigate the situation, they found out what happened, and they allegedly laughed about it and left. So at first they wanted to press charges on the coaches, and now they're basically holding the entire school accountable, the administrators and everything, for not doing something about this situation, which I think she should do. I think that this is crazy. Students can't be treated like this, Cenk. I feel like this keeps happening again and again all throughout the country, and for some reason administrators think they can do it and get away with it with absolutely no consequences. I mean, we did that story about Constance McMillan a million times during this year's program. So I love that the parent is fighting back. And another thing that I love is that she wasn't outraged at her daughter's sexuality. That's what I was a little worried about, that, you know, she would find out that her daughter's a lesbian and then it would cause a rift in their relationship. But she seems to be okay with it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the stories today. We've got Beavis and Butthead as cops. Well, you know, their cops come out to the penis sculpture and they're like, then they come out to the lesbian story. They're like, oh, that's cool. Let's go to, yeah, who'd she make out with? That's awesome.
All right, let's do one more story before we take a break and do our top videos of 2010. So, Kelsey Grammer and Camille Grammer are divorcing, okay? The reason why they're divorcing is because Kelsey Grammer had a show on Broadway. While he was flying to New York out of LA, he fell in love with a flight attendant. Her name is Kate Walsh, and now he plans on divorcing Camille so he can marry Kate. Now, during, the divorce proceedings, Kelsey Grammer agreed to give Camille Grammer $30,000. They do not have a prenuptial agreement. Camille.
No. 30 million.
Oh, what did I say?
30,000.
Oh.
Did you imagine, Kelsey?
I'm sorry.
He'd be like, yeah, 30,000. Go, run.
I don't know why I said 30,000. I'm sorry, $30 million. So Camille Grammer looked at that amount and laughed. She's like, no, I want $50 million. And so now, they're duking it out over this money. And I think, of course, the question of whether or not she deserves the $50 million is an interesting conversation to have. But what I find even more interesting is the fact that he plans on marrying this woman, Kate Walsh, and he does not plan on getting a prenuptial agreement. What the hell?
I swung so many different ways in this story. First, I love that he fell in love during the flight. I mean, how good was she? Jesus. Right now, that to me, sound the siren. The guy's a clown, right? Second of all, I was totally on his side in the divorce. 30 million isn't enough. They weren't married that long. This isn't somebody like who was married, when they were 20 and now they're 55 and they built a life together and they had 28 grandkids. No, I mean, he was already a huge star. Now, it's been a little while, right? But
it's been 13 years.
Now, 13 years, I hear you, but it was like she already married him after he was mega famous and making a ton of money, etc., right?
Mm-hmm.
And so $30 million is not enough? Right? That's crazy talk.
Yeah,
I
agree with you on that. $30 million is a ridiculously high amount of money. It's so much money. I don't even know if I would be able to spend $30 million. But, I think the only thing that Camille has on her side is, look, 13 years of marriage, I don't think is a joke. I think that's a pretty long time, especially in celebrity standards. And another thing to take into consideration is Camille married him when he had an alcohol problem, and she claims that she helped him basically find sobriety, kick his alcohol addiction. I don't know if that's true. Yeah, I don't know if that's true. That's what she's claiming. So
No.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's true, I don't care, okay? Because a lot of wives help their husbands with their alcohol problem. And some husbands help their wives. They don't get an extra $20 million for that.
Right.
Okay? And look, 13 years is a long time, I hear you, and in celebrity years, that's like 96 years of marriage. I get that. Don't get me wrong, she should, given our laws, she will get a gigantic amount. All I'm saying is that I don't see the need for the extra $20 million. Right. But it doesn't really matter, because in the end, he lost me anyway, because the clown won't even sign a prenup with the next one. So then I thought, screw it, he has it coming. Kick his ass harder. And besides which, Kelsey Grammer, also a major conservative.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, this is awesome. Come on,
So
Camille.
that makes me also say, oh, really? What happened to family values, Kelsey? I thought you were conservative. What happened?
Kate Walsh will be his fourth wife, so that's a great example of his family values.
You know what? All those wives, take them to the cleaners, man. Less money you can contribute to clown Republicans.
All right, guys, let's take a break. When we come back, the part of the show that we've all been waiting for, the top TYT videos of 2010. We'll be back after the break.